late 2003, and 20-year-old Corporal J.R. Martinez was walking slowly down a hospital hallway in the burn ward of the Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas. 6 months earlier, the Humvee that J.R. was driving while deployed in Iraq hit a roadside bomb. J.R. was trapped in flames inside the Humvee for 5 minutes. When he was finally rescued, he was immediately induced into a coma for treatment and flown to Brooke Medical. 34% of his skin had been burned. 6 months later, his physical recovery was progressing well, but his emotional and mental recovery, he was still missing something.
This particular day, Miss Walker, the nurse, she asked me, she said, "Hey, why don't you go and visit this patient?" And I said, "Why?" And she was like, "Well, he's having a tough time. He just got here." And I was like, "No, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. What am I going to say? I'm 20. And she was like, "Just go in and talk to him about how things have gotten better for you." And in that moment, I was like, I guess. And I opened the door. It's completely dark in the room, middle of the day. I could feel the energy in the room, and the energy is not good. This person clearly is in a bad place. And all I wanted to do was run away. All I wanted to do was leave that room, get out of there.
But JR stayed. He remembered how lonely he had been when he first arrived at the hospital months ago.
And so what I did is I walked up to his bed and I just introduced myself. And I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm JR. I'm a patient here. Just wanted to come in and check on you." And I asked him what his name was, I asked him where he was from and what unit he was with. And the rest of the time, I just listened.
JR had always been known as the funny guy and would usually be the loudest person in the room. But something was telling him he didn't need to be in that moment.
And after 45 minutes, I said, "Hey, man, I'm going to come back tomorrow and check on you." And he's like, "Man, I'd appreciate that. Thanks again, blah, blah, blah." And I started to walk out of the room. And before I could exit the room, I noticed something that caught my attention. And what it was now he had turned on the light above his bed. And he was getting out of his bed and he was opening the curtain, which let a lot of natural light into the room. And I just thought there was something to this. And so I started visiting patients every single day. Fast forward 3 months after I started visiting patients, where I realized, wait, this thing that I thought I'd lost, that I could no longer do again, which was serve, actually I can. I can keep serving. It just looks different. I'm going to wear a different uniform, but at the end of the day, I can keep serving.
Over the span of 3 years of recovery in the hospital, doctors performed 34 skin grafts and procedures to aid Corporal J.R. Martinez's physical recovery. But the most important rehabilitation he went through was in his mental and emotional outlook. His newfound sense of purpose has allowed him to thrive in the 20 years since he left the hospital, and has included 3 years starring on the hit soap opera All My Children, a victory in a season of Dancing with the Stars, a best-selling book, and talks all around the world on resilience and recovery. In today's episode, our hosts sit down with JR to discuss his Army experience leading up to his accident, his greatest accomplishments post-recovery, and discover that today he's dealing with his most daunting and rewarding challenge. Don't worry, this challenge is actually a lot of fun. I'm Carrie Varohaikis, and this is Army Matters.
General Dynamics Land Systems is at the leading edge of predictive and prognostic maintenance with its Vitals AI-powered vehicle intelligence tools. Vitals software increases operational readiness rates through forward-looking, decision-actionable logistics data. Vitals is compatible with all Army vehicles and is ready for demos today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Army Matters. I am the 15th Sergeant Major of the Army, Sergeant Major of the Army, retired Dan Dailey. And you know the guy I'm with, my good friend.
Your best podcast buddy, Lieutenant General retired Leslie C. Smith. Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
I know you got some questions for me.
I was going to say, before we introduce him, I got a few questions for you.
Okay.
I got a few questions for you.
You can go first on this one.
Yeah, okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to take part in a dancing competition, what would be your go-to dance?
My go-to dance move?
Yeah. You mean I'm talking like everybody circles around Les Smith on the dance floor, and then you come in, and then everybody's like clapping their hands, going go, 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 go. What are you gonna do?
The electric slide.
The electric slide.
No, hold on. Let's see. What would my dance be?
I mean,
would it be the cha-cha? So I took a class.
Well, let me reset the stage. You got the beat going, boom, 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 boom.
No.
Dance floor turns into a big circle, and Les comes in the center of that circle. That's right, and everybody's clapping. Come on, hit it. What are you gonna hit us with?
The electric slide. What would your dance be?
I'd go to the windmill.
The windmill? Really?
I used to do it when I was a kid. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd probably break my neck.
Explain to the listeners what the windmill is.
So it was a breakdance move. I grew up in the 80s, and breakdance scene was hot. You know, I mean, even in a little tiny town,
you
parachute pants, and what you do is you have to lay on your back and spin, and your legs spin like a windmill. And you
had a parachute pants for real?
Of course I had the parachute pants.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Of course I did. You didn't have no parachute pants? I wonder what people really think about us.
What do you mean what people think about us? They love us, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
most of the time.
Most of the time. Okay, but what are we talking about today, bro?
Why are we talking about the electric slide? And because the American hero we have on the show today has been through all of that. And he went on to have a fairy tale life of winning the Dancing with the Stars, starring on a soap opera.
So Dancing with the Stars, do you watch that with Miss Holly?
Painfully.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
They used to have Dancing with the Stars Day, down in D.C. Did you know that? Dance competitions, yes.
Did you go down and do the electric slide?
No, I didn't do electric slide.
No.
They were out there teaching dancing at the Jefferson Memorial. You know what I'm talking about, in D.C. right there?
Yeah.
Right in front of it, on the Jefferson Memorial. So
what do you think? Now, unfortunately, you weren't here to help share the story.
Where was I?
You were on another cruise. I think the fifth one this year.
No, really. Tell the people the truth.
The second,
first cruise this year. First.
Oh, wait, I thought
I was not on a cruise earlier. No.
All right.
No, I didn't go fishing. This was my vacation to go on a cruise.
While you were sailing the seven seas, I was back here working hard.
I know.
That's right. Why don't we bring our guest on the show?
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Let's listen to your interview with Corporal Martinez.
Let's do it. We have a great show today and a great human being that's got a tremendous story. I'd like to welcome to Army Matters studio, J.R. Martinez. J.R., welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So, hey, before we jump into your story, J.R., I'd like to start off with what you're working on right now. And I understand that you've taken on perhaps the most daunting assignment down there in Austin, and it causes you a lot of stress. So can you tell us about coaching your daughter's baseball team?
Yeah.
You're
not lying, man. So I have a daughter that's 13, and we had a pretty good year. We actually were pretty competitive, and then it just really became this thing where my daughter was like, I want to play softball. This is what I love. And so we jumped into softball, like Select World, club, travel, whatever people call it, wherever you live. And I started coaching there. And it quickly, I'm one of those personalities that no matter what it is that I'm doing, I go all in. I
You're
am
all in.
all in.
All in.
Like,
That's
I
right.
am all in. So, yes, I had a lot on my plate, but I still made sure I studied. I asked questions. I reached out to people. I learned. And to the point where when we got to 12U, we were the number one team in Texas.
Wow.
And so now here I am, like,
Coach.
I'm like a softball coach. And
Coach.
I
Yeah.
love it, man. I tell you what, it is to have that opportunity to be with those kids and to just impact them and not really, as I say to them all the time, I was like, yes, I'm teaching you about softball, but what we're equally trying to do is give you skills that are going to translate into life, no matter what it is you do: relationships, work, school, challenges, adversity, teamwork, communication, like all the things. And so I love it, man. I mean, if I could retire right now and just focus on being a softball coach, I 100% would. And I try to figure it out every day if I could do that.
Well, JR, that sounds incredible. When you say all in, like you're wearing matching coach outfit, got the seeds in the mouth, and you got the ball
Oh,
cap
man.
and the whistle, and the clipboard. You're all in.
I'm all in, man. I went to coaches.com and bought the whole kit. Everything that comes with that kit, I bought it. And I got my own seat, not just sitting on a bucket. I don't have a lot of padding back there, so I got to find a nice, comfortable cushion for this tush.
Yeah.
And but it's great, man. Like last night I went to the high school game, and I can't wait to see our girls there next year. And I'm going to be that proud guy just sitting in the stands like this, like, I remember coaching those girls. Like, there's nothing better, man. And I think that's what I have been searching for a very long time in my life. And I'm very blessed to say that I have it.
Awesome. So, JR, let's talk about your service. Can you tell us a story when you decided to enlist in the Army, and what happened when you went home to tell your mother of that choice, and what was her reaction?
Immediately said, "No, you're not." When I was like, "Mom, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to join the United States Army." "No, you're not." Like, immediately, no hesitation whatsoever, just completely said, "No, sir." The military was not a foreign concept to me. No one in my family had served, but one of my football coaches had served. So, he had talked to us about it, just simply about his experience. And so one day, like, man, I'm literally home on my lunch break and watching TV. And I was like, what's this? And it's a commercial. Not to say that I haven't seen that commercial before, but I think I was so much in this space of like desperation, if you will, to try to find a solution to my life, that it was about joining the military. And so what I did is I drove down to the mall and I went to, funny enough, I went to all the branches. Like, I went to the Air Force, and nobody was there. And then I went to the Navy, and I just kept walking because I was like, I don't want to do that. So then I went to the Marine Corps, and they said 4 years. And I was like, all right, I'll be back. When I went to the Army's like, we'll take whatever you give us, man. And so the Army was a great opportunity for me to kind of check all the boxes, if you will. I could join, I could give back, I could serve, I could get money for college, I could go to college while I was in the Army, get my GPA up. Like, I could do all these great things. But literally, I come home all optimistic, like I had figured it out. And look at me, finding solutions and not problems. And my mom was like, absolutely not. Now, the reason my mother said no so quickly, in the early 80s, there was a civil war that was happening in El Salvador. And my mother understood what war does to people. So understanding that if I went to war, the chances of her losing her child are pretty high. But here's one of the most amazing gifts my mother gave me, is despite my mother's fear and concern and reservation about me joining the military, she put all that aside and one day pulled up a chair, sat across me and said, okay, tell me about this military thing. Explain to me, why do you believe it's the best thing for you? Why do you want to do it, et cetera, et cetera. Most of us aren't pulling up a chair to have a difficult conversation. And it doesn't have to be like anything really. So it could just be, hey, there's some energy and some tension between me and my sibling, me and a friend, me and a coworker, me and a neighbor, whatever it is. Most of us are not doing that. And my mother did that. And at the conclusion of this conversation, my mother put aside all the fears and challenges that she had aside and said, if you want to join the Army, you go ahead. And off I went.
Oh, that's awesome. So you got a reputation of being the funny guy, and that also occurred while you were at basic training. Can you give us an example of something you did to earn that distinction?
I mean, how many examples do you want?
Just one.
I didn't really understand the full spectrum of when I got to basic, like what it is consisted of. I mean, I remember my recruiter telling me one piece of advice. He said, you don't want the drill sergeants to know your name. And I was like, that's the kind of opposite of what I've been told. You always want to leave an impression, that kind of vibe. And he's like, nah, you don't want that. And I remember like just where we finally got a little bit of freedom. Well, we found out where the payphones were. So me and a couple of my buddies, one day we come up with a plan. We're going to go to the payphones. And so sure enough, we pretend we're going on a jog. And instead we cut off into this, into the right next to the laundromat of this other unit. And the payphones are there. Who do I call? My mom. I just want to call my mom and just tell mom how I'm doing. All of a sudden, there's another drill sergeant that walks by and he's like, hey, he knows no one's has the liberty right now to just freely be on the phone. So he's like, hey, and the three of us, we just drop the phones and we take off. And so me and the other guy,
you ran.
Oh, we ran. Oh, we ran, dude. We're not getting caught. And we ran and we're taking off and we're cutting through and we're like, me and the other guy, we're like, where's Garcia? And we're looking around. Garcia, he's not here. We get back to the barracks and everyone's in the barracks, reading, hanging out, doing the responsible things. And here me and this other guy come running in, sweating. And they look at us and they're like, what did you guys do? Like they just knew we were up to something. We're like, nothing. We just went for a run. About 5 minutes later, we hear someone getting chewed out. And we look out the window. And there's guy. Garcia standing at attention. Who else were you with? Where are they? Where are their names? And he didn't offer anything up. I always jokingly tell people that if I wouldn't have got injured, I probably would have got kicked out at some point, just because they're like, this dude's a clown. And it carried, honestly, we had a drill sergeant who was very intense. And, he talked about like, hey, I've been to war. Like, you guys are going to war. You guys got to understand
a little isolated to a degree.
3.5 months that
I
you
think
have
part
trained,
of that was because I was 19 years old. I was the new kid. I was a young kid.
It didn't process in my brain because I was 19.
Long story short, I just felt so isolated.
Football
and I felt like
it wasn't until I honestly
what I was
got
doing
to
here
country
didn't really matter
when it really clicked. And it was like, oh,
I felt like no one really
this
cared.
Is real.
And I just felt like I was just kind of like a vessel.
During the early days of your first deployment,
I was just kind of like, all right, just
like you said, you didn't really understand the benefit of service
wait for the next
until you
order.
heard a speech by
and
someone
I remember
that
there was a guy in my unit.
So tell us the story behind that.
That he took off his shirt one day and on his chest over his heart, he had a tattoo of the unit crest, the unit logo. And I asked him, I said, why do you have that tattooed on your body? Genuinely curious. And he said, I have it tattooed on my body because I love this. This is a brotherhood. And without hesitation, I responded with, no, it's not. Nobody cares. And it wasn't because I was trying to be difficult, right? I wasn't trying to be combative. I wasn't trying to be disruptive. That was not the intention. It was truly an organic feeling that I had felt up to that point that, I don't know, a couple of days later, we get this big briefing from one of the leadership. And this individual comes and stands on this podium and he's talking to us. And I always use the reference like he looked like a G.I. Joe. I mean, this guy was fit. His uniform was pressed. It looked like he just came right out of the box. And he made eye contact with every person. And ultimately, he started talking about service. He started talking about the role that everybody plays. He started talking about all these really important things and how we all mattered in this fight, whatever the fight was, whether it was for the day, whether it was for the month, whether it was for the entire deployment, which we still didn't know how long it was truly going to be. And I remember leaving that briefing and going on a mission. And when I went on that mission, I remember when we got to our point and I stopped and I reflected on that conversation. Then I started to really reflect on, wait, okay, so I'm part of this team that helped get these people from there to here. Okay, that's the service part. That's also the part that everybody's job matters. Now it was like, no, I matter. And I love this now. And that's when I started plotting that I was like, you know what? When I get done with this deployment, I'm going to go back to the States and I'm going to try to become a ranger. One day I'm going to try to become special forces, pathfinder. I'm going to try to do all these exceptional things because now I've bought into this idea of service. And the great thing is, hear me tell you this. After I was hurt, the commander that spoke up there and talked about service and talked about how everybody mattered and this and that, I have a great relationship with him. And after I was hurt, he would invite me to come and speak at the bases that he was, commanding. And he showed up. I got an award in L.A. And I walk on the stage, and guess who's presenting it to me? It's the colonel.
So JR, let's talk about that fateful day, April 5th, 2003, when your vehicle drove over a roadside bomb. Can you share that moment with us?
Well, it was kind of a typical day, if you will, right? We wake up that day, we have to escort a convoy from one place to the next, and we get there, and we think our mission's done for the day, and they tell us, no, we have to actually go secure this other area. So hold tight till we figure out a new route. Finally, a couple hours later, they're like, hey, this is the route we're going to take. So Martinez, your turn to drive. No problem. Sorry. I'm jumping the driver's seat. And so there's four of us in the Humvee, and, we're just driving along, and I'm just kind of driving on the route. And all of a sudden, boom. What happened was the front left tire of the Humvee that I was driving ran over a roadside bomb. And the other three guys were thrown out of the vehicle.
Oh, man.
I, on the other hand, was trapped inside of the Humvee because we had all our gear. It caught on fire within a matter of seconds, and I couldn't get out. And for 5 minutes, I was completely conscious, in and out of consciousness, actually. And, just feeling the excruciating pain of your body, being burned. For so long, I would talk about the fear that I felt. I started to really have those thoughts that my life is going to end this way, in this place, at this age. But over the years, and doing a lot of work with a professional, a therapist, and a lot of that work is with myself, and a lot of that work is with my peers, guys that I've met who were also injured. What I started to extract from the 5th of April of 2003 was not so much the fear anymore. What I started to focus on was there were these moments where my eyes would get really heavy, and I would be on the verge of closing my eyes, and I would all of a sudden get so weak that my eyes would close. But there was something really fascinating that I would experience when my eyes were closed. All of a sudden, I didn't hear the chaos around my Humvee. I didn't feel the pain. I didn't have the thoughts of all the fear and all the things. The only two things that I could really remember and connect with was, one, my breath. I can actually feel myself and hear myself breathing. The next thing was my thoughts were more so about, JR, just open your eyes. Open your eyes. Someone's going to come and pull you out. Just open your eyes. And so I would trick my mind, and I would open my eyes, and I would continue to scream and yell until the next moment when my body got weak, and then I would close my eyes. And that was the repeated cadence for the 5 minutes until I was pulled out. The reason why that's relevant is here I am now. It's 2025. I'm 22 and a half years removed from that day. But I still practice that. When life gets overwhelming, because hopefully I'm not going to find myself in a burning Humvee again. That would just be really bad luck. But there's times in life, very bad. But there's, life sometimes feels like you're in a burning Humvee, right? It's especially like all the things going on in our world that can feel like I'm just burning and I'm suffocating and I can't survive. And when I have those moments, because I do, I close my eyes and I just connect with my breath. And I connect with my thoughts. And it doesn't have to be 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes. Sometimes I only have enough time to do it for 1 minute in my car before my kid gets out of school, or after I drop my kids off, or I'm in my office before a call, or whatever. But I do that all the time. And so that's what I like to focus on from the 5th of April of 2003. But in that moment, I was just surviving. And 5 minutes later, I was pulled out of the Humvee, started the medevac process, put into a medical induced coma, woke up 3 weeks later in San Antonio, Texas at the burn center here.
General Dynamics Land Systems has innovated a new concept for mission command on the move. Centered around the Stryker A1 M-Cotton vehicle, GDLS's concept revolutionizes Army command posts, which are too easily detected and targeted. Stryker A1 M-Cotton is designed for the commanders to direct a battle while maneuvering. See it this month at AUSA.
Hey, did you get your AUSA merch yet? Check out our online selection at shop.ausa.org.
Welcome back to Army Matters. Now, JR, we spent the last few minutes talking about your accident and your recovery. And then came a person named Brott Monroe. Who is he and how did he become part of your life?